Ladies and gentlemen, the most important probe, even more important than the Durham probe, is Operation Legend. Operation Legend transitions into new phase. This is an ABC affiliate in Missouri. Surge of federal agents has left Kansas City. KCPD cites drop in crime. This is also linked to federal charges and indictments, not only, of course, in Kansas City, but, of course, in Portland, in Seattle, in Chicago. They're approaching, so 74 people face federal charges for crimes committed during Portland demonstrations. This is the U.S. Department of Justice. That's actually a couple weeks back. About a month ago, there were 200 people charged, a little over 200 people charged because of Operation Legend around the country with federal crimes. Okay, it's very likely around 500 people throughout the country, probably more than that, because just a couple weeks back, you have 74 people facing federal charges in Portland. That number has increased. If you follow Andy Ngo, Ian Miles Chong, and Tim Pool, three of the best journalists in this country, and I say this with like 100% certainty and just the most like admiration for those three individuals. They're absolutely fantastic, and they're doing a very courageous service to the country. But you have 74 people just a couple weeks back charged with federal crimes. Then you have something like 60 people charged with federal crimes in Chicago. Then you have federal crimes in Seattle, where you have approaching 20 people. So federal prosecutors take over Seattle protester cases. What's taking place is that federal prosecutors are taking over from local law enforcement or local prosecutors, local district attorneys, these cases, because in many instances you have Operation Legend. Not only targeting people who committed arson or firearms crimes or violence or assaulting law enforcement. This is all very peaceful yet fiery. But you also have people plotting and conspiring in different cities, traveling across state lines simply to protest in other cities. The mayors the governors and the mayors in places like Wisconsin and Illinois and Oregon and Washington have all first blamed people outside of their states. Be here, by the way, at 9 p.m. Pacific. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific. We're going to have the best debate recap in all of YouTube. Eventually, Madam Secretary is going to replace Botox B, the exhumed body. The man is not going to do well. I can tell you right now, Democrats will say, oh my God, he was a sentient being, he was breathing, God bless him, his heart was pumping, and words were coming out of his mouth as his lips were moving, and he won because of that. The bar has been set so low, they're even so proud that the bar has been set so low. They're actually really, it's pretty astounding how little they care for the truth, or how they've set the bar so low that it's almost embarrassing that they would be proud that just if he just shows up, that's a victory for them. They've had these Pyrrhic victories, like, yay, Madam Secretary didn't get indicted, or yay, Biden can finish a sentence. Oh, wow, this is fantastic. These are not actual victories. These victories cost more in the long run than they achieve, and they're going to lose this coming election. The reason being because one of the main reasons is because Operation Legend, federal charges, here we can go, Trump touts federal arrests in cities. These are the people who face criminal charges in Seattle. AG Barr asked, so this is interesting, AG Barr asked federal prosecutors to explore criminal charges, and I talked about this, against Mayor Durkin. So the Seattle mayor who allowed and helped foster that autonomous zone, which is completely and utterly illegal, especially since the mayor got no approval from anyone in the city council or anyone within or any of the residents. She just said, "Oh, well, you know what?" So Operation Legend isn't just going after the peaceful yet fiery protesters. It's also going after the politicians who emboldened these very peaceful yet fiery protesters. At the heart of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is the following. Everybody knows that Democrats tacitly approve this unrest, this mayhem, even the arson. You're not getting, like, police buildings in Seattle, in Portland, and I believe also Chicago. Let me just check. Have been set ablaze. Okay, the people who... So let's just see. The people who were doing this... The people who were doing this have a left-leaning ideology. Okay, I'm not blaming a certain organization. I'm saying, you're looking at Minneapolis. Sorry, it wasn't Chicago. It was police buildings in Minneapolis, Seattle, and Portland have been set ablaze. Who committed that arson, that vandalism, that destruction, that life-threatening destruction? Because arson is a very nefarious and insidious, actually almost the definition of nefarious and evil type of a crime. You have no clue who could lose their life from a fire. And so, who do you think set the police buildings in Minneapolis, Seattle, and Minnesota? Well, we're finding out right now from Operation Legend that almost every one of these people have a left-leaning viewpoint. That doesn't mean that they're working for the DNC or any specific organization. That means that they're to the left of the political spectrum. Like I said, you can follow Andy No, Ian Miles Chung, and Tim Pool. These are three journalists that are putting their life at risk, following, especially Andy No, that are following and documenting these crimes and this chaos and mayhem, and also investigating who are the people committing these atrocious crimes and what political ideology is fostering this. Democrats give tacit approval because they're of the belief that the left has nothing to do with this. It's just unrest because Trump's America is a bad place. That's their vantage point. You look, though, here, let's just read this. United States Department of Justice, 74 people facing federal charges for crimes committed during Portland demonstrations. Charges include assaulting federal officers, arson, failing to obey lawful orders, and damaging federal property. U.S. Attorney Billy J. Williams announced today that 74 people are facing federal charges for crimes committed adjacent to or under the guise of peaceful demonstrations in Portland since at least May 29, 2020. This is really interesting. For more than 90 consecutive nights, Portland has been home to large demonstrations and protests. Okay, quote, violent agitators have hijacked any semblance of First Amendment protected activity, engaging in violent criminal acts and destruction of public safety. So that is, that's just from the Department of Justice website. And then you're seeing crime drop, homicides in Kansas City from July 8th. He also cited a drop in homicides in Kansas City from July 8th to September 16th by 22%, non-fatal shootings by 24%, a drop in aggravated assaults by 44% as compared to 10 weeks before July 8th. So where these federal officers visit, you see a drop in crime. Let's just read this really quickly. AG Barr asks federal prosecutors to explore criminal charges against Seattle Mayor Durkin over autonomous zone. Attorney General William Barr asked federal prosecutors to explore, this is KRO 7, Seattle affiliate, I believe of ABC affiliate. Attorney General William Barr asked federal prosecutors to explore possible criminal charges against Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin for allowing protesters to establish the autonomous police-free protest zone. So you have people being indicted, you have politicians being held accountable, and it's pretty awesome. Then you have this is NPR. Federal prosecutors take over Seattle protester cases concerning local attorneys. Well, yeah, because the local attorneys want to let them off. This week, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Seattle announced its 8th arrest related to events during this summer's protest. Okay, then they say protest against racism and police brutality. That's throughout the country. You're going to hear that. It's no longer a protest against police brutality or racism when you're setting buildings ablaze. Then it's just pure anarchy for perhaps psychological reasons. These people want to feel powerful. These people want to feel that they're that this euphoria from controlling the streets at 3 a.m. Many of them are very young. Many of them are not just idealistic; they're ideologues that feel that they're truly making a change for the better by destroying property and intimidating people and assaulting people. This does not work. This does not work. This only helped President Trump immensely. So I'm assuming that they're doing so because they just dislike President Trump. This didn't happen. All these people who are being close to 500 people, and you can do a count. That's a rough estimate because it was around 200 people. Operation Legend had around 200 people. I reported on this channel. 200 people charged about 3 weeks ago. And Barr is stepping up the indictments. So operate more than 200. So this was about 3 weeks ago or so. About a month ago. More than 200 charged in federal crimes, 1,000 arrested. Okay, so you're seeing an uptick. You're seeing a massive increase, a surge in the people charged with federal crimes. Just from what I've read right now, you can add 74 to that because the 74 people in Portland, but then that was a couple of weeks back. Then you're adding people in Seattle, people in Chicago, people in the East Coast as well, Kansas City, I read. So you're probably looking at, and then the 1,000 arrests, they just arrested 1,000 people. They hadn't even charged them yet with federal crimes. So it's around 500. I could be wrong. I am estimating that this is going to be a lot higher than 500, a lot more than 500 people, because there are probably going to be even more protests, especially when President Trump wins. The Democrats have already planned. And then, of course, when Amy Coney Barrett makes it a 6-3 Supreme Court. So be here at 9 p.m. Pacific, ladies and gentlemen. William Barr has expanded Operation Legend. When there's chaos and mayhem now, these people, they're not even protesters. They're just either professional or willing ideologues who want to disrupt society for their own benefit. It has nothing to do with some lofty goal of preventing racism. They should expect federal charges because the federal government is now a part of cases in Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, Chicago. I mentioned it was like 60 people charged in Chicago for various different, feds say more than 60 defendants in Chicago charged. So this all falls under DEA, 24 defendants charged in joint federal and state investigations. That was just in June. So you're going to have well over 500 people facing federal trial, well over 500 people, because there have been 10,000 arrests nationwide. There's $1.4 billion in property damage. And he's expanding Operation Legend, William Barr. And Democrats, their only rebuttal is, well, this is what an authoritarian does. No, this is what any government, any president would do when you have widespread chaos and mayhem and property damage and bloodshed that is being tacitly given a tacit nod of approval from a political party and media that wants to portray the world as the sky is falling, everything is horrible and bad because Trump is president. And they're giving this wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know how this could all end. Just voting for Trump's current challenger. Clinton will eventually replace Biden. I don't care. I do not believe just because you have a bunch of apoplectic, hysterical, fanatical liberals who lost the last election because they can't compete based on ideas. Their ideas are horrible, and they don't agree on any policies. Left is all over the place. So they can't compete on ideas and they can't compete on accomplishments. President Trump had record low unemployment before the pandemic. Clinton wouldn't have done anything differently from President Trump. And Trump immediately addressed the pandemic in January. This was even before the Senate voted to prevent the impeachment. So they wanted to impeach President Trump, and they blamed him for not leading during the pandemic. They wanted to impeach President Trump on the absurd notion that he had no right to ask another country why Biden's son was on the board of directors of a corrupt oil and gas firm. But that is now a Russian plot as well. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific. Biden's going to get completely steamrolled in this debate. It's just a matter of how media and Democrats spin this. They spun it with the shimmy. In 2016. They'll do the same thing with Biden. It ain't going to work, though. They lost in 2016. They're going to lose in 2020. And any shenanigans, any kind of, spontaneous grassroots unrest and chaos and mayhem, the federal government's going to be involved. And Operation Legend is expanding. And you're going to see federal people, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of people throughout the country. I'm giving one estimate of 500 right now, just based on the media reports that I've read to you. But you're going to see well over that in terms of the number of people who get charged with federal crimes. Give me your thoughts below. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific, people. Best late evening live stream in all of YouTube. We're going to have a debate recap, the best debate recap in all of YouTube on at 9 p.m. Pacific this evening. Tell your friends. It is going to be an event. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific tonight. Thank you on this channel for the best live stream in all of YouTube. 9 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel if you want to support my voice long term. My Patreon is below. Thank you.